In the middle of the Arizona desert sits a windowless gray building. No sign, no logo, no parking lot full of employees. From the highway, it looks abandoned. It isn't. That single building may be worth more than a company you've actually heard of, and getting the land under it meant outbidding rival developers who wanted the same patch of desert. No assembly lines, nothing rolls off a conveyor belt, nothing gets unboxed. And yet this building will quietly generate more predictable profit year after year than most restaurant chains or retail stores you could build for the same money. Welcome to the strange, boring, and enormously profitable business of owning a data center. Boring is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Stick around. Boring is exactly why investors are obsessed with it.
At first glance, this looks like the least exciting business idea imaginable. A warehouse full of computers humming in the dark, doing nothing anyone can see. No storefront, no customers walking in, no product to unbox. Strip away the mystery, though, and what you're actually looking at is real estate, electricity, and trust, packaged together and rented out by the month to the biggest companies on Earth. So who's actually making money doing this? Two of the biggest names in the game are Digital Realty and Equinix. Digital Realty alone operates hundreds of facilities across more than 20 countries and pulls in well over $5 billion a year. Equinix runs a near-identical playbook and has grown into a company worth tens of billions. Neither company builds phones, neither builds software. They build buildings, fill them with power and cooling, and let the world's biggest tech companies pay rent for the privilege of staying online. Which raises the obvious question: how do you get a piece of that?
Let's start with the number that scares most people off before they even look closer: the cost to build one. A modest data center, the kind serving a handful of local businesses, can go up for $5 to $10 million. That's the entry-level version. The corner store, not the shopping mall. The kind that makes headlines is a different animal entirely. The hyperscale campuses built by Microsoft, Google, and Meta run anywhere from $500 million to over $2 billion for a single site. And that number keeps climbing, mostly because of one hungry new tenant: artificial intelligence. Here's the part that surprises people. Unlike a hotel or an apartment building, a data center's biggest expense isn't the building. It's what goes inside it. Servers, cooling systems, backup generators, electrical infrastructure. Combined, these often cost more than the concrete shell around them. A single rack of high-performance AI servers can run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and a large facility might house thousands of racks. So before a single client signs anything, the owner has already sunk a fortune into machines that will be technologically obsolete in 3 to 5 years. It's a business built on constant, expensive reinvestment, dressed up to look like a business built on concrete and steel.
So how does anyone make money on something this expensive? Through a business model that looks almost boring on paper, which is exactly why investors love it. The first is co-location. The owner rents out physical space, power, and cooling to other companies who bring their own servers. Think of it like renting storage units, except instead of old furniture, your tenants are storing the digital infrastructure behind banking apps, streaming services, and hospital records. Clients typically pay based on power draw, priced per kilowatt, with a single rack running $1,000 to $2,000 a month depending on location and service level. The second model is bigger, and it's the one most people don't fully understand: wholesale and hyperscale leasing. Here, the owner builds an enormous facility and leases the entire thing, or massive chunks of it, to a single tenant, usually a cloud giant like Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, or Microsoft Azure. These deals can lock in guaranteed revenue for 10, 15, even 20 years. Sign one of these leases today, and by the time it expires, someone's toddler could be applying to college. That kind of certainty is almost unheard of in real estate, and it's exactly why real estate investment trusts have poured billions into this sector. Here's the twist that separates data centers from almost every other type of real estate. The real product isn't the building, it's uptime. Tenants aren't just paying for square footage, they're paying for a guarantee that their servers will never lose power, never overheat, never go offline, not even for a second. Most contracts promise something like 99.999% uptime. That sounds impressive until you do the math. It allows for about 5 minutes of downtime a year total. Miss that? And the data center doesn't just lose a customer, it can owe financial penalties large enough to wipe out months of profit from that one client. That fear is what quietly shapes almost every decision in this industry. It's why data centers are built with redundant everything. 2 power feeds instead of 1, backup diesel generators that can run the entire facility for days, battery systems that can bridge a gap in milliseconds if the grid so much as flickers. None of it is optional. It's the psychological foundation the whole business rests on. Absolute, unshakable reliability, sold to clients who are terrified of what happens the moment their systems go dark.
Electricity is the obvious one, and it's staggering. The largest hyperscale campuses can draw as much power as a small city's worth of homes. But the cost that actually catches new owners off guard is cooling. Servers generate an enormous amount of heat, and if it isn't constantly removed, the equipment fails within minutes. Older facilities lean on industrial air conditioning, running non-stop. Many newer ones have shifted to liquid cooling, which can use millions of gallons of water a year. And in drought-prone regions like Arizona and Georgia, that sparked real friction with local communities over water rights. Some towns have reported a single facility using more water annually than a meaningful share of the surrounding area, according to local reporting on municipal water use. Then there's the workforce, smaller than you'd expect, far more specialized than you'd expect. A facility processing the digital life of millions of people might employ only 50 to 100 people on site. Nearly all of them are electrical engineers, cooling technicians, or cybersecurity specialists. Nobody's running a cash register. One bad call from the wrong person here can take down a hospital network or a bank on the other side of the planet, which is why the hiring bar is closer to surgical team than warehouse staff.
This business isn't risk-free, and the biggest risk hiding in plain sight is concentration. A hyperscale facility might have just 1 or 2 tenants renting the entire building. If Amazon or Google ever decides to build its own facility instead of leasing, or simply doesn't renew, an owner can lose most of their revenue overnight. It's why the smartest players diversify their tenant base the same way a smart investor diversifies a portfolio. The second risk is obsolescence, and AI is speeding it up. AI chips run hotter, draw more power, and age out faster than the general-purpose servers of a decade ago. A facility built in 2018 for standard cloud computing may not be able to support the cooling density today's AI workloads demand. Retrofitting can cost tens of millions of dollars, and owners who built for yesterday's technology are now scrambling to stay relevant to tomorrow's. There's a third, quieter risk, too. People underestimate how unforgiving the margins for error are. The lease numbers hyperscalers pay look enormous, so newcomers assume the money just flows in once the building's up. What that leaves out is interconnection. The fiber optic cabling needed to link a facility to the internet backbone, which alone can run into the millions, and how brutal the bidding wars are for land with cheap, abundant power. That's the real reason you'll find clusters of data centers in unglamorous places like rural Virginia. Nobody's chasing the scenery. They're chasing electricity that doesn't bankrupt them.
For a well-located, fully leased facility, operating margins can reach 50 to 60%, the kind of number that would make most industries jealous. Once construction debt is paid down and long-term leases are locked in, a data center starts behaving less like a volatile tech investment and more like a toll booth, quietly collecting payments for years, sometimes decades, with remarkably predictable cash flow. That's exactly why pension funds, insurance companies, and some of the most conservative investors on the planet have piled into an industry that barely existed as a serious asset class 20 years ago. Strip away the servers, the cooling towers, the diesel generators, and owning a data center comes down to one idea. You're not really selling computing power. You're selling certainty in an uncertain digital world. Which brings us back to that windowless building in the Arizona desert. No sign, no logo, nobody walking in or out. Every bank transaction, every hospital record, every AI chatbot conversation you've ever had, some of it passed through a building exactly like this one, and you'll never know which. The world's most important buildings today aren't cathedrals or skyscrapers. They're the ones nobody notices at all. So next time you drive past a gray box off the highway with no sign on it, look again.